Nothing on the Bonnell Foundation's Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast should be considered medical advice. Medical advice can only come from your CF physician. Cystic fibrosis can be a devastating diagnosis, but living with the disease can bring positivity and a new appreciation for each day. From the Bonnell Foundation in Detroit, Michigan, it's the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast, sponsored by Viatris, Genentech, and Vertex. Here's your host, Laura Bonnell.
Asia Diaz is 27 years old and she has cystic fibrosis. She wanted to have children with her husband, Danny. That's all she's always wanted, is to be a mom, she says. And if you have CF, you can get very sick while being pregnant. Not everyone does, of course, but it can really be quite a strain on your CF body. Today, she has twin girls. They're adorable. You'll hear their little voices throughout our podcast. They're 10 months old. So it was delightful to catch up with her and very sad as we found out the reason for her very late diagnosis. Sadly, again, because she is a person of color. So we do talk about that, and we really need to educate doctors about the fact that anyone can be diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. So let's get to it and talk to Asia and hear her story. It's great to see you, even if it's not in person, but you're only an hour away from me. You're visiting in Flint, Michigan. So you're about an hour away and you live in Huntsville, Alabama. Asia, it's great to see you. And I'm excited about your story. Why don't you first tell me why it took so long to get a diagnosis? I mean, you weren't diagnosed until you were 22. So take us on that CF journey.
Oh, well, as far as I know and can remember, as a child, I had really bad ear infections, sinus infections. I did coughs, as you would, being sick. Nobody in my family whatsoever, we don't know anybody with CF. I went to countless appointments, specialists, all that. Tubes in and out of the ears several times. Then finally, I moved to Alabama at 10. I was 10 years old. They told me I had asthma. So I treated it as asthma. I still cheered. I ran track, soccer. I did all that kind of stuff. I would always have my inhaler with me. I was always with my inhaler. But it didn't stop me from doing those things in high school. When I turned 22, I had the flu and went to the hospital. And while being there, the lady ran tests and she told me that I would have to stay back because they thought it was something else going on. I kept going to the hospital. I was always sick. And I don't know, they just randomly wanted to do tests on me. And I had the sweat test done and it was confirmed that I had CF at 22.
Was it because you're a person of color, they're underdiagnosed? Or do you know why that you weren't diagnosed for all these years?
Honestly, I didn't know that played a factor in anything. I know recently being at the UAB clinic, they did tell me kind of like genetically how it works. And typically, it's more found in Caucasian instead of African American. So that was kind of strange to hear. So I don't know if that's why. Possibly maybe me being a person of color that I didn't get tested. I was born in 96. And I believe he said they weren't running those tests at that time. They were just getting into cystic fibrosis for newborn screening.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how true that is.
It wasn't on newborn screening, at least in Michigan, until 2007. That's really when it started, but it's not a Caucasian disease, and many pediatricians wrongly believe that. And the reason people think that it only impacts Caucasian people or white people is because they're underdiagnosing people of color. If they were correctly diagnosing people of color, it wouldn't be just a white disease. And that's what's extremely frustrating is because so many people, I mean, I wish your story was unique, but it's not.
Right.
I mean, so many people of color are diagnosed in their 20s. It's really maddening.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if I had treatment sooner, of course, anybody, but I'm now, not on the too good of scale of it. And if I would have taken care of myself, had the right medication, unfortunately, but.
Well, why don't you tell me, you've been diagnosed for about 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
What has it done to you emotionally? How do you feel since your diagnosis? How has it changed your life?
Oh, it's been a major change in my life. Maybe not so much at first when I got diagnosed being younger. I just dealt with it as a cold. I'm just the type, I just pushed through. But up until recently having my twin girls, my lung function just plummeted completely. It's been really hard emotionally. I get so upset. Am I going to be here for my kids? It's hard. And I like to do things with them and go places. They're only 10 months old. And I'm like, no, I'm out of breath. I can't carry them both at the same time, or let alone one. Sometimes I have to have other people do it. It's hard. I lost a lot of weight after having them. And apparently I contracted a bug that caused that. And I literally just got out of the hospital Monday.
Wow.
For a 10-day stay at UAB.
Wow. Did you get a PICC line and all of it?
Actually, I didn't get the PICC line. I kind of declined it because at first I thought it was going to be a 7-day stay. But yeah, I would have if I would have known it was 10 days. But I have had it before.
So what age were you when you went on the CF modulator drug?
I'm not on a modulator drug.
No.
At all. I have rare mutations. I don't qualify for anything at the moment right now.
Okay. I mean, because you were so newly diagnosed, did you realize the toll that a pregnancy and then with twins, what that toll on you would be?
I did. I guess, of course I didn't, but I did. I knew the risk, but that was my main focus was the girls. It was actually a planned pregnancy. We ended up going through a fertility specialist to have them. But I would say at that time I was doing pretty good. Now I did give birth with pneumonia.
Oh my.
But yeah. And I carried them 34-3 with CF.
Wow.
And there are 2 healthy girls. They didn't need no assistance. They said had a 28-day NICU stay. And that was just to learn how to feed and get over 4 pounds. Perfectly healthy.
Wow. So how much did you say they each weighed when they were born?
They were 3 pounds, 10 ounces and 3 pounds, 11 ounces, 16 and a half inches.
Wow. So I just want to back up for a second. So your husband, when did you get married? And then how many years have you been married? And was CF a factor when you and Danny got married?
No, it wasn't. Danny and I got married back during COVID in 2020. We began dating in 2012. So he was there through before and during and now. So it really didn't. He's my sidekick. If I'm coughing too hard, he's just there. He knows what to do. You don't ask. Yeah, I'm so thankful to have somebody like him, for sure, because he picks up a lot of slack.
That is wonderful. And so what are your concerns now? I mean, you got through this pregnancy, you delivered your twin girls with pneumonia. It's been 10 months in. You've been hospitalized in their young lives. So how are you doing? How do you keep going? How many medications are you on to stay healthy? What do you have to do to keep yourself going?
So I do about 3 different nebs 3 times a day with the chest vest. As far as medication-wise, I take an antibiotic a couple times a week. I'm not on enzymes. I don't have any issues as far as that yet.
Okay.
That could change, especially with this last hospital stays. I don't know if they got the test results back. I'm still learning. I've had it, these years now, and I'm still learning. I don't know as much, just going through it.
Right. And I can't imagine that you're working full time, but are you working or are you a full-time mom working?
I work full time. I work 8 to 5:30 every single day. I really don't miss unless I'm really sick. And a lot of times I go to work still really sick. I work at a preschool,
Okay.
which is full of germs.
Right.
So now I'm up in the office doing paperwork. I'm not actually dealing with the kids anymore, but I've been at that job 10 years.
So do your girls go to the daycare as well, or?
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
So how do you handle the germs? I mean, I remember that was a concern of mine. Well, for them, because they had CF, but you're the one with CF. Is that a worry that they're going to bring home germs, or are you just doing the best you can?
It's really just doing the best I can. I guess I really don't want to take from them. I like them being social. It's just hard because, eventually they're still going to go off to school and it's still going to be germs no matter what. Going into these public places is just, there's germs everywhere. It's hard to avoid it no matter how hard you try, honestly. So I try to live life as normal as we can is what we're doing.
Do other moms know that you have CF at the daycare? Do your friends know, or do you just keep going and not mention it?
Yes, all my friends know. A lot of people know. The parents at the daycare know. Yeah, it's pretty known, especially lately after having the girls, losing all that weight. I just look sick. It's hard to miss. And if I cough every day, all day, and now I'm getting bragged on, oh, I haven't even heard you cough. I haven't heard you cough. And this is recently, everybody's like, you haven't coughed yet. And I'm like, I know, I don't know what that feels like. So I'm taking it all in right now.
Gotcha. And describe your girls. What are they like? What's their little personalities like right now?
Ariana, she is goofy. She's silly. She's very energetic. She's all over the place. She has the cutest little dimples and the sweetest little smile. Her sister, Alea, she's my feisty one. She's more independent, but she's still a happy baby and always a smile on her face as well. They're very outgoing girls. They don't meet a stranger.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. And, you talked a little bit about it, but what are your thoughts for your future, knowing that you have potentially so many health challenges, moving forward?
Danny and I, we just want to continue to grow in ourselves and in our careers. One thing that did hold me back as my career, I actually went to school to be a dental assistant. I eventually wanted to be a dental hygienist, but my condition held me back. I knew working with patients, being real close to them, coughing, is just not a good look. So I, stayed where I'm comfortable at daycare. But now that I'm getting better, I really, might seek that opportunity. We still want to buy a house. We still want to travel. So we're just pushing through. We're just going. That's really all we can do. And hoping for the best and doing the best we can.
And then 5 years into your CF diagnosis, do you want to get on the CF modulator drug, or you can't because you have a rare mutation, so it's not even a possibility for you now? So now you're part of the 10% that's just waiting for that drug, correct?
Yes, I was told that we could do 1 or 2 types of testing to see. So we're in the works of that right now. I definitely would like to be on a modulator if I could be, yes.
You're still living your life, even though you're not on it. And that's one thing one of my daughters taught me was if you can't get on it, because she couldn't for a while, you're still living your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are more in the works. They're working on gene therapy, on inhaled nebulizer, CF modulators that could help 100% of the CF population. So there is hope. What are your parents, either Danny's or yours? How did they take the news? How did this impact them?
It's pretty devastating for a lot of my family, especially my parents and my grandparents. Just as much as they took me to the doctor, why was this not figured out? You've been sick so long. Why has this not been solved? So it's been a frustration, really, honestly, not getting the proper tools to even help me live day by day with the disease. Yeah, it's been really hard, honestly. Danny, he gets really worried now too with having the girls and seeing me where I was and where I've been, how I went downhill. It was really scary for him. He would tell me every day he was scared because he did not want to raise these girls alone. So it's pretty heart-wrenching. It really is.
There's so much to think about. And, just perspective on somebody who's had a late diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned so far about this disease? Like, what either inspires you or worries you, like in this short time of diagnosis, when most people have their whole life to register what it means and process it before they have kids? What are you feeling as far as what you learned or what you hope will happen with CF?
How about I go off of the subject? But I honestly feel like I knew I had it before I was told I had it. I used to watch this lady on TV, and I followed her on Instagram, and she had a little boy, and he had cystic fibrosis. And I read about it, and the mucus, and I'm like, that's what I got. Like, I have mucus. And I just had a feeling, it just felt like it gravitated. So like those words just always was in my mind, always. I'm sorry, I'm getting lost.
No, you're fine.
It's been really hard. And with the community, I guess I have recently made friends with CF, and it's, really sucks that we can't be in the same room as each other. I'm always curious to learn. I still feel like I really don't know much, honestly, no matter how much I read or ask questions, because I ask a lot of questions. I'm still unfamiliar, honestly.
Well, you have the Bonnell Foundation. You can always ask and work with us as well. And I will also connect you to the National Organization of African Americans with Cystic Fibrosis.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Michelle and Terry Wright, they're terrific. So you need to definitely connect with them. And as you're connecting with other people, do you feel like you're starting to advocate for CF or about it? Are you journaling? Are you doing anything to kind of keep track of your journey, your CF journey?
Actually, I'm not. I've thought about, recording videos and TikToks in the hospital stays and maybe other things that I can help other people with. But of course, having the girls, don't have much time right now. But I'm always, looking for content to learn. I always want to learn. I don't journal, but everything's pretty much up here right now, honestly.
In your head, yeah. Do you feel like you've learned a lot about CF, or do you feel like you still have so much to learn?
I feel like I've learned the basics, but I feel like I know there's still so much more. There's got to be, with all these mutations and things like that. Honestly, getting diagnosed at 22 today, well, not exactly today, but, 27 at the UAB hospital stay, I'm like, what are my mutations? I don't even know. I just know they're rare. That's all you tell me. And I wrote them down, so I don't even know them by heart as of right now. So even that alone, that bothered me. Like, everybody knows their mutations and I don't. So I'm definitely still learning.
Yeah, well, if you have them, that's good. Even if you don't know them by heart, as long as you have them written down, that is really helpful.
I didn't even know they were rare until after I had the twins.
Wow.
I wasn't getting treated properly. I was getting just treated by my primary physician until I finally got sent down to Birmingham to get the actual treatment that I needed.
And how were you cared for during your pregnancy? Were you in a CF clinic?
No. I didn't get CF clinic till after I had the girls.
Really?
So I haven't had proper treatment since the diagnosis at 22.
And no one sent you to a CF clinic?
Nope. And I only live an hour and a half away from that clinic. It wasn't until we Googled and seen that they had it and I spoke about it, and all of a sudden, I got referred. But a lot of the time, my primary physician wanted to treat whatever was wrong with me and would keep giving me the same medication, steroids, antibiotic, steroid. And then a lot of the time, I'd be sick and I couldn't go to the doctor because I was used to being sick. So sometimes it was a little sick or a lot of sick. I mean, when it got bad, that's when I couldn't take no more. I would go, but I was used to being sick all the time. So that was my normal.
That is so sad and so wrong. So I'm just amazed by this. I'm sorry. I'm actually shocked, but I'm shocked and not shocked. After you're diagnosed at 22 and they know you have CF, the doctor still did not refer you to a CF clinic?
Nope, not straight. He referred me to a
pulmonary?
Yes, a pulmonologist in the area and infectious disease doctor. But that was it.
So, if I may ask, was this a white doctor?
Yes.
Wow. And I wasn't trying to pick on anybody at all. It's just that it's usually a white doctor that is misdiagnosing people of color in general. So that's the only reason I was asking, because usually that's what happens. And we're just trying to continuously get the word out constantly to pediatricians and doctors in general that it's not a Caucasian disease. Anybody can get it.
I did not know that until I met you today.
Wow.
I was told. And, my dad, he's African American. He's like, well, such and such is Caucasian, down the line. So, yeah, they made it seem like it's definitely a Caucasian disease.
You've learned so much from it, right? And now you can educate those doctors and maybe go back and tell them, hey, if this happens again, I would really write him a letter, a really nice letter, and educate him about, what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yes, most definitely.
And so what and when are you going to tell your girls and teach them about what cystic fibrosis is and what you're dealing with?
Honestly, I feel like I'm already teaching them. Every time I do a treatment, I always got a baby right there, pulling on my tubing and wanting to put their hands on the vest. And anytime I turn my machine on, one of the twins, she will be across the room. She will turn her head and look, and she knows her mom is doing her treatments. It's the cutest thing. But the earlier, the better. I don't want them to be like me. I mean, even though we've done, all the screenings and we took proper precautions before we got pregnant, but listen, if you got to test them once a year, please do it. Please do it. I feel like maybe later in life, if you show certain symptoms, please test them. Because somebody getting a constant, infection, lung infections, getting pneumonia multiple times is not normal.
Right.
I can't even count on my hands and my feet how many times I've had pneumonia at all. Like I said, I gave birth with pneumonia. I went on a field trip with pneumonia. I left the field trip, went to the hospital, had pneumonia. Just crazy.
Wow. You've been dealing with a lot. You're working full time. What advice do you have for other people who are either newly diagnosed or just, like yourself, just trying to live their life with cystic fibrosis?
Ask questions. That's the number one. Always ask questions. Even if you think it's a dumb question, ask questions. Never stop doing what you love to do. If there's something you want to, I wanted to be a mom really bad. I didn't care about any other thing in the world. I just knew I was destined to be a mom. So I made sure that I didn't let the disease stop me. So if that's something you want, go for it. Highly go for it. You can't stop your life because life is too short as it is anyway, let alone with cystic fibrosis.
Well, thank you for doing this podcast with us. It's great to talk to you.
Yes.
And it was good to hear your little girls in the background, their cute little voices. So adorable. Thank you. And I mean, you're a CF warrior. You're really handling it all. And you're an inspiration to me, and I'm sure everyone listening.
Thank you so much for having me.
The original music in this podcast is performed by Kevin Allen, who happens to have cystic fibrosis.
We all got our worries and fears. I know it's got you frustrated, but loving you is so alright.
This has been the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast. For more information and to learn more about the Bonnell Foundation, visit our website at thebonnellfoundation.org. That's the BONNELL Foundation.org. This podcast was sponsored by Viatris, Genentech, and Vertex. It was produced by Jag and Detroit Podcasts. Follow our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now.